Good morning and welcome back. Welcome back to my private little forum where I discuss what I think it means to be a member of humanity. Who am I? Who are we? And what does it mean to be human? I think it matters. I think it matters. More so now than ever before, with what's going on politically and socially, economically, with everything from AI to automation to ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, that organization, all of that is bringing into question very strongly, who are we? And what does it mean to be a human being? Now, it sounds like we're going to have a philosophical discussion, esoteric, but I want to bring it down into way more interesting than that. I want to talk about the way the universe works, how it actually works unconditionally. And what I mean by unconditionally, it means not without conditions, but rather no matter what the conditions, these rules apply. Have you ever wondered what the laws of the universe are and what you can count on when, in fact, all the physical forms change all the time? So, what if all physicality changes, if all conditions change, then what can you count on that doesn't change? And that is the unconditioned. That means what is true no matter what the conditions. No matter whether it's Thursday or Tuesday or Bulgaria or 1920 or does not matter. These rules apply. So what are the rules of the universe? And we're going to talk about source energy. Source energy is, we're going to define it. We're going to try to talk about it. We're going to try to describe it. We're going to try to pull it into a recognition and discussion of our own selves, our own soft technology, how the instrument of our human vehicle works, how it plays against the backdrop of the divine matrix that we are how does reality work? And you know what? Most people don't spend much time thinking about this. They just assume how reality works and then they jump into life, you know, head first and just bang it out. I did that for a while too, and I totally understand that position. Things did not always work out well for me, so I have paused and rethought. This is what I'm coming back with. Who are we? What does it mean to be a human being? It is really important how this works. How do you get? So this is unconditional language. Things like not how do you get a new car, but how do you get more of what you want and less of what you don't want, and I don't care what it is that you want. Now, wants that are in alignment with needs have a much better chance of being fulfilled because there's a whole lot more information and energy flowing to the accomplishment of the needs. A lot of times, what happens with human beings is they think they want things that they actually don't want. And when they get them, they're not going to like it. They're going to realize, oh, I thought that would make me happy, but it didn't make me happy. So what do I want? Maybe I want this thing. This will make me happy. And then you chase that and you get it. And you're like, you know what? That didn't make me happy either. So the question is, do most people even know what will make them happy? They want to be happy, but they don't know what makes them happy. They think it's objects that they have in their mind. And those objects might even be processes like, I want this job, or I want this romance, or I want this. So it doesn't seem like it's an object that you want because it's a mobile thing, a thing that's not fixed, that moves around. But even still, when they get that, they don't understand how things work. And when they get it, they're like, you know, I thought that when I finally achieved you, that I would be happy, and I'm not. So we're going to talk about that because what does make you happy? Do you know what makes you happy? I will tell you what makes you happy, but it's unconditional. I'm not going to say, "Oh, fast cars make you happy," or "good food makes you happy," or "loving people makes you happy," or "thriving ecosystem." Well, all of those might make you happy. That's not what makes you happy. It just coincided with something. That's why that made you happy because so you have what you want, and then you have what you think you want, and those two things might be different. What you want, what you really want, and what you think you want might be two different things. You so let's start at the beginning. You are a two-tiered being, and no matter what show I do, and most of them I do not post, I am afraid of who might see it and judge me, which is silly. Because if you really don't have your head in the right mindset and you don't give me a whole lot of time to try to explain what I'm saying, it's very easy to dismiss me. I say wild things. I believe that this understanding that I am trying to transfer to humanity, which right now I'm just doing what my job is I'm transmitting. I'm doing the transmission. I have no say over who picks it up out there, and I've just got to understand that. But I do really long ones, and I don't want to spend any time labeling them, naming them. I need a front page. Anyway, there's all kinds of stuff, all kinds of reasons why I don't post. It's possible I could post this. It is possible. It's good stuff. I am trying to explain to humanity in unconditional terms so that they can superimpose this information over whatever they've got, whether they are in China or Norway or France or Chad or um, Colombia or um, Tahiti. It doesn't matter. Um, the information works the same, whether no matter what your nationality, no matter what your belief system, it just does not matter. These laws of the universe hold up. And if they hold up, and this is the structure of the universe, then our insistence on making a big deal out of meaningless, superficial physical characteristics over the centuries, with how much blood shed over this. Millions and millions of people over time having died for this question. Who am I? And what does it mean to be a human being? It matters so much. They are assaulting us in the streets now because they don't think we matter. We are chattel. We are chaff. We are superfluous. We are flies on their backs now. They don't want us and our needs, bothering them. They've got all the stuff and they want to just, do their real estate deals and they want to build their architecture and they want to. Who am I? Who am I? And how does this work? it's really important to ponder the nature of reality. Don't just take it at face value because there is an illusion thing going on. It doesn't mean when I say that it's an illusion, I don't mean that you think it's not a mirage. There's something there. It's just not what you think it is. It's disguised. It looks like one thing, but it really is another thing. And if you don't ponder it, if you don't rearrange it intentionally inside of yourself, you are almost undoubtedly you've got it wrong analytically. Now, in some ways, it may not matter if you've got it wrong because the only thing that actually matters to your situation is the state of being that you can maintain no matter what the conditions around you, what state of being you can maintain. If you can hold your frequency, no matter what's going on around you, he who can hold his frequency is the one that wins the day. That one is the one that wins the playing field. And so let's examine this thing that keeps happening to humanity, this authoritarian psychosis. Actually, I want so much to talk about that, but I have other things. I need to explain all of it briefly, really briefly, so that a layperson might be able to catch up to where I am in the narrative, in the where am I in the field? What am I talking about at any given moment? First of all, things like we are vibrational beings in a vibrational universe. We just are. And what's happening is there's this pulsing sort of in and out, winking in, winking out, winking in, winking out. And every time it does it, and it does it every Planck second, and a Planck time increment is really short. I have my Planck, let's see. Is that you take a photon, which is a little packet of light energy, the smallest a little packet of light energy. I'm not sure exactly what subatomic particles it's made of. Is it electrons? I don't know, but it's a photon going at the speed of light because that's what packets of light do. They go at the speed of light. So this little photon going at the speed of light across its own diameter. That length of frequency, that's as short as it can get. That time that it takes to do it, shortest measurable, it's a quanta of time. And then it represents a tiny, tiny, tiny little packet of energy, really, really small. That's the Planck um, energy. Let's see. So what does all of that mean? What does any of that mean? Why are we talking about Plancks? Because every Planck instant, the entire universe pulses out and then pulses right back in again. And you don't see it. You don't realize it just did that because it's so flippin' fast. We can do it at the speed of a moving picture reel. We can stick subliminal messages into a subliminal, and that is way longer than a Planck instant. And we don't see that either. So, I mean, it's easy to understand. We have winked completely out and completely back in billions of times every second. That's what the universe is doing. It's sort of pulsating. And what makes it come back in the way it comes back in and not exactly the way it was when it winked out? It's the fact that Let's don't ask that question. That one's too hard. I do know the answer to it. It has to do with focus and attention, because focus and attention is what is keeping the world what it is, as opposed to just allowing it to naturally shift into something else. Um, that doesn't make any sense. Let me back up. Who am I? You are a two-tiered being. Um, and your two aspects are this. You are, vibrationally speaking, the information of the whole, right where you stand. And the reason you are is because the universe is holographic. It's holographic because it is exchanging its information back and forth, up and down, across the scales, every Planck instant. All of the information of all of the universe is being transferred to every other place in the universe through an interference pattern. This interference pattern is the entire universe, all of the Plancks touching and it's happening everywhere. So everywhere, all of the Plancks, all of the time. This is it's a constant thing. It's a constant exchange of energy and information. This is source energy. This is our source. Our source is, it's like the ultimate democracy. It's the most incredible thing conceptually when you start realizing what it is, that everything is everywhere and you can't get away from it. It's why they say the trite things they say about God, because what they're talking about is the allness that we are, the almighty allness that we all inhabit at all times. And that's why inclusion is important for us. God includes us all. Why would we be different? We can't keep trying to exclude parts that we think don't belong. Everything belongs because God put it all here. Now, I'm actually not a crazy religious person like that just sounded like I was. As a matter of fact, I went all the way up until about 5 years ago, before I kind of had a sort of a coalescing moment inside of my own consciousness where everything that I had ever thought about suddenly came together, and I went, oh, is that what they're talking about? Oh, I understand God energy. Oh, is that why? Oh, I understood religions. I understood myself. I understood everyone around me. It was like, oh, it's like the penny dropped, and every single thing just lined up like a crystal. I'm sure there's some sort of crystalline pattern somewhere in the ether going on as everything lined up. And it's like, oh, that explains everything. That explains history. It explains current events. It explains the motion of the stars. It explains my own emotions. It explains it explains everything. So I'm going to try to pass this on to you, because we are really interesting creatures. We are fabulously interesting creatures in a really, really interesting setup, that if we would more clearly understand who we are and lean into who we are, instead of spending all of our time pushing and shoving against each other, resisting one another, resisting our destiny, resisting our hearts, resisting the truth. The truth's going to get us, people. Anybody who is right now in their lives actively involved in some version of truth obfuscation, obscuring it, your time is limited. because the truth is coming after all of us. And the truth cannot be hidden because nothing can be hidden because the universe is holographic, which means I possess all of the information of you where I stand. It just means I have to take it through source. I have to take it because I get it at the quantum level from you. I get it at the, and so I have to be able to integrate it back up to this. Just know you cannot hide from the truth. We cannot hide from the truth. This is the truth of who we are. And we're not going to be able to hide this very much longer. We're not going to be able to hide our encrypted information forever as soon as people really understand this wholeness and this oneness that we are. But I want to tell you, this is not something to be afraid of. When you have to take it through source in order to get the information, then you have to understand who you are in order to accept the information. And when you know who you are, then you are safe. You are safe. You are not a danger to the outside world when you know who you are. Who are you? You are the whole thing. I am the whole thing. You are the whole thing. She is the whole thing. They are the whole thing. And what is every one of us doing? Each in our own diverse way, we are meant to iterate the wholeness that we are. It is the blessing of our diversity. Our diversity lies in each one of us's ability to take the same pieces and spin it different. It's like every one of us has been issued a full Lego set. A full Lego set. Here in my holographic nature, I have the whole thing. I have the whole universe right where I am. And I get to spin it the way I want to spin it. That's the blessing of being a human being. Now, what's the curse? The curse is that you are two beings and you don't know that you're two beings. If you knew that you were two beings and you were trained to align these two beings from the very beginning, you would have a much easier time in your life. You would have a much easier time. But you don't know that you are two beings, and one of those beings is very, very pure. She is nothing but love. She is holy. She is pure positive energy. She is can-do personified. She is eagerness, interested. She's love. She is, but she isn't really, the physical needs the non-physical. And the non-physical needs the physical. They are incomplete without one another, by the way. They are two parts of a wholeness system that works together to create reality. Without these two aspects, we don't have the play of form. So what are these two aspects? These two aspects, I've broken them down this way. I demark it in particular ways in my mind, in my consciousness. There's different ways I've lined it up. The first one, the first demarcation is form and formless. So you have the form of the universe. You have the form of the world. It's what the physical scientists go out and study when they're studying atoms and quarks and subatomic particles and looking at planets and, orbitals. When they look at electromagnetic fields, when they look at Coriolis forces, when they're looking at the corona of the sun, when they're anything, sunspot, whatever. This is the physical world. This is the form. But behind the form, there is something else. And I just call this the formless. But what it is that the form is made of this Planck field, this quantum field that is made of planks. It's a fabric of planks. You could imagine it, it's never static, but you could imagine it like a fabric of planks that are touching one another, all of them touching one another, very, 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 very dense and still. You could imagine that, but it's not actually the way it is because it is never, ever, 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 ever still. It's roiling with incredible energy. But at any given Planck instant, you could just imagine it as a fabric, a, a sort of like imagining a single frame in a movie reel. You know, it's just this fabric of Planck's. Now, what is a Planck? What is a Planck oscillator? Because that's what a Planck is. It's an oscillator. It winks in and out as a virtual particle. There it is, and then there it isn't, and then there it is, and then there it isn't, and then there it is, and then there it isn't. And if it's doing it very sarcastically, it looks like empty space. If it looks doing it in an organized way, vibrating in and out, in and out, in and out, then we call it stuff. We call it matter. If these Plancks are organized in an area of the field, we call it matter. When they are not organized, we call it space. But the Plancks are there. The Plancks are there, and it's a solid field of them. And each one of them is this slippery, sort of fluid, I could go into spin kind of thing, sitting there. That's what a Planck is. Now, what is source energy? What is source energy doing? Source energy is this field of solid Plancks that are reporting to, through, and with one another. They through this interference pattern. So what do I mean by an interference pattern? Do you know how a regular hologram is made? How a conventional man-made hologram is made? What happens through all of that is that when the when the two beams meet, they form an interference pattern. There's a, like it, the, all everything's scattered across the field instead of just being in a lay. It's scattered through this interference pattern. Now the entire image of the apple is everywhere in this interference pattern. So you take a tiny little piece of this picture over here, and all of the information of the apple is contained in that tiny little piece, even though it looked like maybe it was just a little piece of the stem. But you look into it and the entire apple is there. Isn't that interesting? It happens through the interference pattern. The interference pattern scatters all the information, and that is kind of what the Plancks are doing. They are interfering universally. And what happens is like all of the individual parts are reporting their information up to the whole. They're like uploading it to the whole, and the whole is downloading to all the parts, and it's doing it every Planck instant through this jiggly, jiggly, jiggly universal interference pattern as all of the Plancks interfere with all of the Plancks all of the time, everywhere. That's why everywhere is the center of all things. That's why 0 point energy, you can't find the source of it anywhere because the source is everywhere and all of us and everything. You see that? It's the most beautiful story of universal democracy. Talk about universal value and worthiness. It means that there is nothing left out of this universe. It means that the universe knows everything. And you are the universe, so you know everything. You just don't know you would know everything. And you have to refer to the aspect of your mind that actually does know everything and not that aspect of your mind that just thinks they know everything. Because you are two selves. You are two selves and you are two minds. Now, I split it into form and formless, and then I described the formless as actually this field of planks. The planks are the Play-Doh, the building blocks of the universe, and they line up into frequencies, different frequencies. But every frequency is made up of planks. You can break it down to that big old long frequency that was, whatever that thought you just took, that sentence you just said, that broadcast you just made, that object. This is a frequency. I am a frequency. Everything is a frequency, short or long. And the longer one, the bigger objects are longer connections of frequencies that have organized over eons of time as that which is like unto itself is drawn, and the whole process of finding who you are. That I am drawn to that which I am like. But the question is, who am I? Who am I? You might answer the question superficially by looking at my outer form. And answering it. I have a name. I was born a particular time, and I'm gonna die a particular time, and that aspect of me certainly is part of who I am. It's very true, but I am being sourced. The source of me is something else, and the life in me is something else. What is that? Who am I? What I am is a frequency. And this frequency that I am turns out is not not superficial and not it may indeed last forever. It all depends on how I define myself. When I start defining myself as form that changes, well, then that's not going to last forever. But when I define myself as the formless that comes into whatever form it wants to for all of eternity, then I am eternal. That which I am lasts forever and ever and ever. And the wholeness that I am is also a frequency. The universe is a frequency. The universe is a big, long frequency that includes every Planck that there is. Now, it doesn't actually exist in a linear, you know, just a line of a frequency, jillions and jillions and jillions of miles long, although I suppose you could conceptualize it that way. That's not exactly what the universe is doing. What it's doing is you can imagine what it's doing. You can imagine it as this sheet of plunks that is roiling and spinning. And who am I in all of this? And where do I bring this conversation into a place where it's not esoteric and it's not philosophical? It has to do with instructions to how to use your biological equipment correctly, how to use it, how to understand what the universe is trying to tell you, how the feedback system is working, so that you can take your own feedback, recognize your own position on the grid, on the board, and learn how to dependably walk directly towards that which you want and not get lost in the illusion of what is surrounding you. Now, remember, I said that The illusion, it's an illusion, it's not a mirage. There is something there. It's just not what you think it is, and it probably doesn't work the way that you think that it is, especially if you don't realize that you are two selves. You aren't just a small self getting help from a larger self. That larger self is you. And I believe it has come to be my personal belief that it is really important that you cross identify both directions, that you identify as your small self and that you identify as as your large self, but then also recognize that everyone else is too. And the reason that this is helpful, when you identify with your larger self, you don't get egomaniacal. You don't get grandiose and full of delusions of grandeur and all of that. That's not what happens to you. When you fully identify with your larger self, correctly in alignment the way I'm talking about, then when you look at others, you see them as a part of yourself, and you want to treat them kindly because it is part of yourself. The ability to empathize is immediate. It's like empathizing with your own toe, you know, like when it's beyond that. It's your own toe. So of course you care for your own toe or finger or eye or what. It's part of you. Everyone is part of you. You see in the sparkling, you know, tentative, eager, trembling eyes of someone else. Your heart is moved because you can feel the inner child of you peeping out, and you want to hold that child and you want to soothe that child. You want to soothe everyone. Abraham has a really lovely story where she talks about being on an airplane and observing some poor mother who was flying with more than one child, and she had a child that had to sit across the aisle from her and was so terrified of being on this plane, and she could not hold this child. She couldn't put him in her lap. She had to leave him in his seat, and the stewardess was being something of a Nazi about it. You know, don't you move, don't you do that, don't you, whatever. And so the child's screaming bloody murder. They get up in the air. Finally, the stewardess allows the woman to unbuckle the child and hold him in. And the mother is holding the child as tightly as she can and just rocking him and soothing him. And it's going to be all right, baby. It's all right. It's all right. You're safe. You're safe. You're safe. You're safe. You're safe. And as Esther is watching this, she has this sensation of her desire to do this to the whole world. She understands what is agitating all of us, and she just wants to soothe us all and say, baby, it's all right, it's all right, it's all right. You are okay, we're going to be okay. There is nothing gone wrong. You are safe, you are safe, you are safe. No matter what, there is no death. First of all, you die, your frequency is still here. Your consciousness is still here. The continuum of your reality is still here. When you look out on the world from behind your eyes, from within your consciousness, just imagine your body going away, but your eyes and the seat of your observation still there. Just close your eyes, let your body disappear, but the seat of who you are is still here. This is you forever. You are your front row seat to the vision of life and this magnificent matrix that we are all energetically and we are inextricably connected to for all eternity. Does not go away. You die and you're still here. You see all kinds of um, skits and stuff where people try to explain what this looks like. You die and people are like, "You're dead." No, I'm not dead. I, I, I'm still here. I didn't go away. I didn't wink out. What do you mean I'm dead? I believe this. Now, your physical body does not, your physical form does not last. You will change. You have changed every minute of your life since you were born. Why wouldn't the next minute and once you get out of this physical body, why would that be any different? You have not been the same since the moment you were born, since the moment you were conceived. First you were an egg and a sperm, and then you were a glumpy cluster of goobly globbity cells and that turned into a little baby that was born to your mother, and then you're a toddler, an adolescent, and then you're a young adult, and then you're an older adult, and then you're starting to be an old person, and then you're going to be a dead person. And every step of the way you changed, but you didn't go away. You exist. It's one of the main things that you can't change about the universe. You exist. From where you stand, non-existence doesn't exist. And so here you are, and here you stay forevermore. Now, your individuality, well, I think your individuality stays too, but that changes. When I go to heaven and I'm going to be in heaven forevermore, when you imagine that, which version of you are you thinking of? Are you as a little child, or are you as a perfect adult, you as a fully mature human being, you as a kindly older person, you as who goes to heaven and plays harps with Jesus for eternity? Which one of you does that? Well, I'm here to tell you none of you does that. That's not exactly what it is that you do. But I am here to tell you that it's absolutely all right. Whatever it is, it's all right. So what are the 5 things that you can't change about the universe? The first one is you exist. Nothing you can do about that. You exist. Get over it. You're here forever. Don't be worried about it. You're also completely safe because you are the formless. And the formless is just the plonks who can form into whatever form you want. You just got to understand how the system works. It works through all of us is how it works. And that's how it ends up not being grandiose or weighted on one side too much, because the energy comes from all of us. You are all of us. So the first thing is you exist, nothing you can do to change that. The second one is everything is here and now. There's nothing yesterday, there's nothing tomorrow. Yesterday is right now, tomorrow is right now, everything is right now. Right now is all you've got. Everything is here and now. All the information of yesterday is here and now. All the information of tomorrow coming up is here and now. Here to be lived, here to be used. Anyway, everything is here and now. Nothing you can do to change that. The all are one, and the one is all. Nothing you can do to change that. What you put out is what you get back. Nothing you can do to change that. And the last one, everything changes except for the laws. Nothing you can do to change that. Yeah. I get those from Bashar. I really like that. And then I get from Abraham her steps of creation. Step 1, 2, 3. Step 1, contrast causes you to ask. Step 2, source answers. Step 3, if you want to get in on what source answered you with, you have to allow the goodness to come to you. You can't stay bound up in the negative energy that was the asking to begin with. That's step 1. Step 1 happens, step 2 immediately happens. It's like taking a photograph. You take that photograph, that negative is what you took the photograph. The negative is what you took. Now you got to take that negative and develop it into the positive, whose information is already there. The information of the negative contains everything you need to bring that positive into being. See how that works? It's very, very cool. So, step 1, 2, 3, I get that from Abraham. I get something else from Abraham. Very important pieces of this equation that I am putting together for us. Um, um, what is the point of life? I like this one from Abraham, and I believe this. This is true. You are, it's freedom, growth, and joy. And she's got a funny thing, people ask her that, and she tells them freedom, growth, and joy. And they go, "We hear you, Abraham. Growth, growth, growth. We hear you, Abraham. Growth, growth, growth." No, what I said was freedom, growth, and joy. We hear you, Abraham. Growth, growth, growth. And because that's what people think we're supposed to be doing. What about the freedom and the joy part? It had never occurred to me that the foundation of our life, the reason that we were here, we are supposed to be happy. We are here for the joy. We are doing this for the fun of it. We are here because we want to. Doesn't occur to anybody that that's what it is. As a matter of fact, our mythology tells us way different things. We're here for the suffering. We're here for the lessons. We're here to be tested. We're supposed to be hard. We're supposed to be suffering. Well, that story creates a completely different experience than the one that says we are here for the expansion. We are here for the fun of the expansion. We're here for the joy. And we are free, free, free. We are so free. Nothing whatsoever binds us. Now, when you tell that to human beings, they are very frightened about that. What do you mean nothing binds us? What do you mean? What do you mean? Then we're out of control and there's nothing going to save us. Well, there is something that's going to save us. Our recognition of our own nature is what's going to save us, which is why I'm doing this show, because I'm trying to get good at explaining to us without weird, spooky emotions, without scary, sacred, woo, without you can just say this in matter-of-fact tones. You can talk about source energy. You can talk about who we are. You can talk about the G word. I hesitate to use the full G word because the reason I do or the reason I don't use it much is because people already have a preconceived notion of what they believe that word means. And it evokes within their own mind a whole collection of imagery that may or may not be what I'm talking about. So I don't want to use that word. I have an example of how semantics can get you into trouble. And this is a matter of semantics. My illustration is when two human beings are arguing about something, even though they might be tagging the same words on the outside, they're blowing different visuals in their minds. And so they actually are not talking about the same thing. One of them's talking about one thing, one of them's talking about another thing. They're using common words, and what they're really arguing about is the spirit of the meaning of the words. They're not actually arguing about, if you could see into somebody else's mind, recognize the spirit and structure of what they were talking about, and then you look at and then you're like, oh, I see what you're saying. Oh, yeah, I agree with that. And my illustration is a notion of, say you have two people who have had different experiences with hotels. One of them goes to the Four Seasons all the time and has the greatest time ever. She just loves hotels. That one on Maui is just her favorite. And So she highly recommends hotels too. And in her experience, somebody has spent the night camping and had terrible experiences, but hotels, great experiences. So she's talking to somebody who maybe once went to a hotel and was robbed or raped or frightened in some terrible way, has had some terrible experience with it. And so they don't recommend hotels. And so now they're having a discussion about hotels. And one of them is saying, and the other one's saying, but they're not talking about the same thing. One is talking about this dangerous, horrible, terrible experience that they had, and the other one is talking about these other light-hearted experiences with happy, fun people. They aren't talking about the same thing. They're just using the same word, hotel. So I can't remember why I said that, where I began with that, although I used to think that was a really important. It has to do with semantics, that we really aren't arguing about what we think we're arguing about. If you could see in my mind and you could see what it was I was putting together and how I was really, what direction I was coming at it from, you'd go, oh, I see what you mean. I get it. I understand. And I even understand why you're angry about that thing that happened to you. Boy, that wasn't fair, was it? Yeah, I get it. I'm not going to argue with you anymore. Now, I must have been heading for some. And when I listen back to this, I'm going to go, oh, you dumbass, there was that thought you were trying to finish and you never got back to it. Let's see. I was talking about freedom, joy, expansion. Freedom, joy, expansion. Let's talk about those for just a second. So let's talk about the freedom, because you may not realize that you are absolutely as free as you need to be, no matter where you are. Even if you're in prison, even if you are, it doesn't matter. You can work it out from where you are. All you need to, so remember, you are two selves. And these two selves, this aspect, this fact that you are two selves is really, really important. The one aspect of you is so free. She doesn't care what your body's doing. She can get you out of where you are and into whatever you want to be if you will follow her guidance. But her guidance has to do with aligning your desires. So this is something I need to explain to somebody in my life. So it's important that I get this straight. When I say you can have anything you want, you just have to get your desires into alignment with your inner being. Now, your inner being is all about your connection with the whole rest of the field around you. Your inner being is all about who you are in reality and what you actually need to survive, and what everything else around you needs to survive, and what exists in this moment between all of us, and what it all could be. You are an equation of enormous complexity. You really are. Now, so what I'm trying to explain is why you can't just get what you want if what you want is out of alignment with what you really want. Say if what I want is I want a string of hookers. I don't want a string of hookers. I want a $1 billion yacht. Now, if I want $1 billion yacht and I can keep my focus on I want $1 billion yacht and hold that what I want in the core of my brain. Now, there are $1 billion yachts. If I had said this 100 years ago, it would have been a longer haul getting that $1 billion yacht to come into my life. I shouldn't do that because that puts my fist right in front of my camera. Boop, boop, boop. Who am I? Say if I want everyone in my block, I want every one of us to have a fleet of 10 Ferraris. Yeah, my inner being might not actually be very interested in that. You know, it's possible that maybe I really do want that, but it's likely that that is a desire that is out of alignment with who I really am and what I really want. Maybe what I think I want is I want to like stick it to everybody I used to work with, them sons of bitches, or something. But it's likely that my inner being doesn't actually want that. And so I'm sitting there wanting one thing, and my inner being wants something else. That is the very definition of I am not in alignment. I am these two selves, and I cannot get away from the fact that I am these two selves. You are two selves, and it is very likely that your not conscious recognition and you're not allowing and you're not accounting for your two selves is what's causing you problems and causing you to have a hard time achieving your desires because you can't seem to get your desires into alignment with one another. Now, one of the problems that you're probably having, this particular person that I know probably has this problem, cannot get off the specific. Get off the freaking specific already. And because you're going to have to come back in from a completely different angle. So get out of the headspace where you are. Pull back to the full general. Full general. Do not look at the specific of the world. Pull back to the full general. And then now, from a place of where you get into alignment and now dial back into the specific. I do have a slide for this. Now, what do I mean facing forward? So if you're in a negative state of being, imagine that there are only two directions you can go. And the direction that you are going is determined by the state of being that you are in. So just in a general way, imagine this. Now, it's not entirely fully true because little bits of negativity can be very clarifying, and in their clarification can actually assist you in furthering your forward direction. So it may seem like, but in general, think of it this way. You are either going forward or you are going backwards. Now, just know that the direction that you want to go is forward. And when you go forward, it feels good. And when you go backwards, it feels bad. Just know that in general, that is true. So when you're in any state of negative emotion, you have gotten yourself turned backwards to who you really are. But don't think of it as an error. It's not an error. You have not, it's nothing you've done wrong. There's no reason to beat yourself up for this. You are designed to do this. And then you are designed to recognize how this feels, what it indicates. You can flip yourself back to the forward, and then because there's a reason why going backwards doesn't feel good. Your inner being only looks forward. Every possibility that she can see is in the forward direction. All of the things that you could do, all of the ingredients and what you could do with them. It's like imagine yourself sitting in front of a banquet. The banquet is all of the ingredients of life. And your inner being is just looking at the possibilities. She's like, oh, what I could do with this. And if you join her in her thoughts and in her actions, that forward motion feels good to you. When you're turned backwards, that trying to move forwards, but the sensation that you're not moving forwards, you're moving backwards, that feels really bad. So you're either facing forwards or you're facing backwards. And you don't worry about it. You are designed to do both. And they both create different kinds of clarity. Now, the backwards one creates quite a lot of clarity, but it doesn't feel very good when you're doing that. There's quite a lot of sacrifice involved in collecting information from that direction. And you, in your physical body, are here to do just that. You are here to accidentally go backwards. You are here to accidentally get into states of negative emotion. You are here to bang out in discomfort and recognize through your experiences of discomfort, identification of what would be better. What would be more interesting? What would be cooler? What would be more comfortable? What would be more delightful? What would be more amazing? It is the negativity, it is the experience of pain and suffering that actually gives you the ideas and the impetus for better, for more, for better. And, in a world where a lot of people around you discourage you from wanting more, because the more little creature that you are, depending on how it's aligned, can be very destructive, can be very chaotic, can be very disruptive to the field around it in its quest for more. What I think needs to happen is we need to understand who we are, and we need to develop systems of training our little ones from the beginning, understanding who they are, responsibility to the rest of the field, understanding that you are, in a way, representatives of the whole field on the one hand, and yet sacred little individuals on the other hand, whose feelings and ideas are important and valuable and interesting, and they matter. But they matter because we are all cells in a greater body of a being I call humanity. It's humanity. That is who we are. Humanity with a capital H. So, how do you get what you want? How do you get what you want? The way you get what you want, the short answer is focus on what you want. Don't focus on why you can't have what you want. Don't focus on all of the obstacles that are in the way of what you want. Focus on what you want. Focus on what you want. It's harder than it sounds because what normally happens when you do that. So what do I want? What do I want? See, I'm having a hard time articulating what I want because in some ways I have what I want. I'm getting what I want. And all of my life is an illustration of things I have chosen. I actually don't have anybody or anything around me that is resisting me. My husband very specifically does not. But I also do not push it because I recognize our team nature, you know. But if I could articulate, I want, how do you get what you want? Focus on what you want. So what do I want? I'm okay in my immediate surroundings. So what I really want is for us collectively. I want to not live in see, this is what happens. You say what you want, and it actually comes out, oh, but I don't want this. What I want is, I don't want this. What I want is not this. And people can't articulate what they want. I heard the most interesting thing the other day. Somebody needs to think about this. What should be our immigration system? What should be our immigration system? What are we for? Because what's happened, we have had over the last like four decades, since the 80s, Reagan he pardoned a whole bunch of he naturalized a whole bunch of people, made them citizens, kept the whole system in place, though sort of codified and enshrined this sort of shadow thing we've got going on right now. We've got a weird shadow thing going on right now, and it's not right. The one thing that's really important to understand is ICE is not breaking an immigration system that works right now. It's actually wreaking havoc through human beings in a shit show of an immigration system that doesn't work for anybody, doesn't keep the borders secure in any way, shape, or form. We're not keeping good track of who's coming across the borders and what they've done and sharing information with others so that we can humanely contain dangerous people in humane institutions where we try to, rehabilitate them or whatever. No, we're throwing them in shithole concentration camp torture centers in El Salvador or Guatemala or whatever. I don't know, Florida. What I heard the other day was all these people who do not like what the administration is doing with Border Patrol. But when they're asked, well, what should our immigration policy be? They don't know what to say. Well, I don't know. I don't know. What should we do? I imagine that the Democrats have thought about this, but we need to start thinking about what we want, not just what we don't want. We don't want what we're seeing in Minneapolis. That's what we don't want. But at the very moment that this is what we don't want is born, we have to start thinking about what we do want. And then focus on what you do want. And whatever you focus on, you can achieve. As a matter of fact, if you can keep your focus locked on it, you can't be stopped from achieving it. That's the secret. Can you keep your focus on it? And reality has a say in some of that. Some of the things you think you want, you would probably have a very hard time locking your focus on it and keeping it all the way up until it appears in front of you. What's going to happen is what you want is going to shift. So let's talk about these two beings that you are. Let's locate them inside of you. Okay? You are two beings. Where are they? What are these two beings? One of them is your analytical mind. One of them is your mind that is thinking, your physical brain and your physical skull, your physical mind, your analytical mind. That's your beliefs. That's your thoughts. That's your beliefs. So where's the other one? If your analytical mind is your beliefs about things, then what's the other one? The other one, you can feel this one. This one is your desires. Your inner being, your pure, your God self is actually your desires. However, you've got to define this correctly, or you're going to, it's not what you think you want. It's the want itself, that wick, that feeling, that pull, that energy that wants, the wanting. That's your inner being. The belief about what it is you want, that's your analytical mind. What you think you want and what you really want might be two different things. And if it is two different things, then you are out of alignment and you're going to have a hard time getting what you want, because your inner being is going to be stopping you every step of the way, because she's heading towards that and you're heading towards that, and they're in two different places. And so you're going this way and that way and this way and that way and this way and that way and this way and that way, and you never get anywhere. Let's go back to the idea of the forward, backwards. There's only two directions you can go. You can either go forwards or you can go backwards. And if you're going forwards, you're acting from a state of positive emotion. It feels very good. That's how you can tell you're moving forwards. Ooh, this feels good. I'm moving forwards. My light vehicle, it's a starship made of light. That's what you are. You are a frequency. You are light. Energy itself. Encoded upon you is all the information of all of the universe. That's what you are. And it's encoded coming to you from your position on the grid and your experiences that you have had. It's ordered from your position. So it's your piece of the information. That's what you are. You are that frequency. So freedom, joy, and growth. Let's go back to that idea. Oh, so hard. There's so much to say. There's so much to say. And the whole idea is, in the end, I want no less than everything. I want it all. I want it all. I want peace on earth, goodwill towards men, pie in the sky. I know. But we're ready for it. We are ready for it. When you see the cruelty in the streets, and then you see the reaction to that, you see the response to that. America is a very, very special place. We are a special place because we are the world's democracy. Now, I realize that we aren't acting like it right now. I get it. I get it. But it's sort of like when you have mental problems, you go to the one you can trust to fall apart. And you do it all over your love, your mother, your best friend, because they're the ones who are going to be able to take it. We have been an experiment 250 years in the making, a very, very individualistic society, a very, very independent. We have been fostering a sense of independence and a sense of entitlement and a sense of we are special for a long time. Now, you might say that's exactly the problem. Well, it might be the problem, but it's also going to be our salvation, because when the authoritarian playbook tries to play its way out on American soil, it is going to come up against some very unique, I don't want to use the word resistance because resistance is not exactly the answer, but a unique recognition of what the problem is and a unique ability to get us all out of it. I feel this within myself as I see these patterns. I'm like, oh my gosh, it is my intense independence that has brought me to an ability to see this in this free form way, and how important that is, how special that is, how meaningful that is, how I'm going to be able to bring something to the table to contribute to us getting out of this situation. And I am one of 350 million other Americans. Now, I realize not every one of us is going to be, all enlightened and stuff. It's true, but many of my generation are going to be the ones that had civics and American government and who read books and who were allowed our freedom, who were raised on a diet of believing that the American spirit was a special one that was here for some special reason. Well, I'm going to tell you what I think we're here for. I think humanity is having a moment. Humanity has this moment all over the place. It's not a new story. It's not even a new story to America because we don't really quite remember it, but King George III was an autocrat. And we just didn't like that. We didn't like the autocrat. We didn't like him then, and we don't like him now. The interesting thing is, though, that this playbook is playing out because it will. Because we are human beings, and this is a thing that we do. And we need to understand dispassionately what this thing that we do actually is and why it plays out the way it plays out, because we are dreaming this into place. The dreamlike nature of reality is what is causing this to be the way it is. The whole thing is being determined by the frequency that we're holding is determining how our world turns out. It has to do with the spirit of things, the state of being that we're in, what state of being we can hold, because it is a vibrational universe and we are vibrational beings and we are two-pronged beings. We have these two aspects of ourselves, and one is holographically, vibrationally the whole thing, holographically and vibrationally, the information of the whole thing in vibrational whatever, right where you are. But it's more than that, because this vibration of this wholeness of who you are is connected to a spinning flow of energy and information that you are. And this spinning flow is source energy. It's the spin of this Planck field that's winking in and out and in and out and in and out. And every time it winks in, I'm not sure whether it's on the in or the out. It happens so quickly. I'm not. It's virtually To my eyes, it's virtually instantaneously, so I'm not sure that it matters in which is the upload and which one's the download. But every in, out, in, out, in, out, every plonk everywhere is reporting to the whole. And then the wholeness of the whole thing through this universal interference pattern is being downloaded to every part. You are the whole universe. You have the whole universe. And you know what? When you start thinking about how we are designed, what the nature of reality is, what this connected divine matrix of energy and information that we all are, when you start realizing what it is, you start realizing the foolishness of the way we have been defining good and bad people, different kinds of people, different kinds of situations. We are all in this together, people. And we need to just get over this idea of developing systems of combing through. Let's scan the field for the bad ones. Let's pluck those bad ones up and get rid of them. Let's get rid of those. You got to understand there's no bad people. There is no bad people. Those really, really, really bad people, they're not bad people. They are grievously misinformed, perhaps, undoubtedly harshly treated. They are suffering from psychological wounds from some direction, some ignorance, some lack, something. Our human psyche is a very fragile thing, and when we don't understand it and then we subject it to different kinds of experiences, we can scar it and maim it and distort it, make it really, really hard for it to ever line up with its higher self, that sort of thing. We can cause problems, making people almost permanently chaotic. If you want to talk about that, I'll agree with that. There are people out there who are chronically chaotic, chronically disorderly. They are anti the order that we keep trying to shove down their throat. But I'll tell you what, there's almost nobody out there who, if you really lined up with the actual truth of the universe, with the love and consciousness and truth and holistic vision that is the universe, even the ornery ones would start playing ball with you from that level of orderliness and organization. Because what we're really fighting here, so I have us as form and formless, right? There's form and formless. That is two ways to evaluate the way the universe is organized. But we're going to go farther than that. We're going to bring in two more concepts: order and chaos. Order and chaos. Order is spin one direction. Chaos is the spin the other direction. Kind of, you could think of it that way. Now, the whole universe, the whole material universe, is spinning in a direction. It's spinning, it's churning. Our universe is a black hole, and it has a smoothie churn of motion going on within as the clusters and the superclusters and everything orbit and whatever. It's also a black hole in the sense that it is, and it acts like a black hole does. Well, what does a black hole do? A black hole loses little bits of itself through Hawking radiation. It was Stephen Hawking that discovered this feature of black holes, how over time it sort of loses, it'll put off a particle on the outside, which causes it to lose mass on the inside. And over time, a black hole will eventually spend itself out. It's not a permanent creature. Although, remember, every proton is a black hole, and the universe is a black hole. The Black holes are not quite what we thought they were. The Earth is a black hole. The sun is a black hole. There's all kinds of black holes around. These singularities and the centers of spin, all these vortices of spin. Actually, is the Earth a black hole? Have I ever heard Nassim say it exactly like that? The spin of the Earth is caused by a black hole for sure. The organization of black holes is what is organizing the entire universal structure. And the spin of this whole thing, we are all participating in this spin as the world turns, as everything spins. So who am I, and how does all of this work? How does that all come together? Well, know that the currency, the literal currency of the universe is attention. It's attention. It's focus and attention, or focused attention. That's the juice. That's the gas. That's the currency of the universe. Hold on a second. Let me do a time check. I have no sense of what time it is or how long I've been doing this. So if you just give me 1 second, I'm going to pause. There it is. Could not find my cursor. I'm back. I am amazed. I used to be able to tell when an hour came up, and now I'm almost an hour and a half, and I don't know where the time goes. But I'm just trying to deep dive into this, trying to figure out how to explain to people how we function. Just because we're here living earthly lives, the fact is that you are being guided by an aspect of yourself. And this is the key. It's an aspect of yourself. And the reason that that's key is because it's an aspect of yourself, you can't escape it. If it was God, you could escape it. You could run away. Oh, that's God. This is me. I'm different. You're God. I'm me. We are not the same. But you can't escape it because it is you. This aspect of the inner being that knows all, sees all, it is an aspect of you. But from where you stand, there is so much information in your inner being that you need to just trust it to know what you want and what's going on. So, what does it mean to trust your inner being? What does it feel like in any given moment if you are in alignment with your inner being? And it is like Abraham says, it's not like a college degree. Once you achieve alignment, it is yours forevermore. You are either in it or not in it every instant. I'm there, I'm not. I'm there, I'm not. I'm there, I'm not. I'm there, I'm not. And that's actually where a lot of people spend their time. They're pretty equally balanced between positive and negative. They feel very, very balanced. I like this, I don't like that. I get that, I don't get that. And then they wonder why they never go anywhere, why they never get anywhere. It's because they're not understanding their own mechanism, um, their own properties of focus, their own mechanism of focus. So I heard something just fairly recently that explains why evil rises and then good rises to fight it. It has to do with this focus and attention thing. And those among us who have an inability to see through the eyes of their fellow human beings, we have human beings who can see through one another's eyes and feel through one another's hearts. And then you have human beings who can't do that so well. And then you have those among us who are so deeply ill, they have a particular kind of blindness that is so blind that they only see their view. And what plays out in this situation is exactly what has played out in America here with our dear leader, Mr. Donald Trump, who happens to have the most dangerous kind of psychological disorder that there is. And the reason that it's dangerous is because it connects to something in us and causes a phenomenon in the field that you can see going on right now. It's called collective narcissism. That's what certain fields of psychology call it. I was calling it authoritarian psychosis. That's what Carl Jung called it, authoritarian psychosis. But it's this collective narcissism, and it's something about his illness resonates with a wound in us. And this whole event that happens is energetic. You got to understand it's energetic. It's not going to be solved through logic. Well, I mean, it is, because I believe I'm being logical, and this understanding is going to solve it. But it's not going to be solved at the level that you think it's going to be solved, because it's not playing out at the level that you think it's being played out. It's being played out at a super logical place, in a place where the logic has to hit a larger frame, because on the surface it appears very illogical. They point to pictures of the killings in Minneapolis, and they literally see differently than we see. They are seeing something different than we are seeing, and they're not putting it all together. Remember, this is an inability for what this actually is clinically an inability to see through one another's eyes. You can't see through one another's eyes. It doesn't come naturally. We're designed to be able to do that, but we are. I don't know why there are many, many, many amongst us who cannot see through one another's eyes. I don't know whether this narcissism aspect, this blindness, can a child be born blind, or is it a case where you are blinded through ignorant teachings and or traumatic events scarring the psyche? I'm not sure exactly what causes this problem. Humanity could certainly look into it. I think it needs to be a whole field of study. Malignant narcissism, collective narcissism, because it's the collective narcissism that resonates with the malignant narcissist, which is why we have this particular brand of horrible leader sitting at the top of our nation. It is not an accident. And this pattern will happen every single time. And the reason that it happens is because that inability to see through other people's eyes grants the person who has this kind of blindness an ability to wholly focus on their own view. Now, depending on what their own view is, this person could end up being either a benevolent monarch, that happens in all of the Disney movies with the Disney princess, and her parents are always this benevolent, loving king who cares for his people and, does everything in the kingdom to make sure that all of his people prosper and are happy, and they celebrate his, whatever. That's what happens in the Disney version. In reality, the problem with this is that when the person whose vision is singularly focused, usually it's a selfish vision. It just works out that way. And so the vision that is created by this is a selfish one. It's a greedy one. And then they're the ones who, but it doesn't, it doesn't start out evil. It's not evil. It's just you have a person who say they have a wounded psyche, and they, for whatever reason, they have an inability to see anybody else's view. And so they end up locking in on their vision. Maybe they want to design a car or a car factory, or I don't know, maybe they're focused on railroads, or they're focused on building an empire. They have this idea, oh, I could build this business, and this is how it would be structured, and the organizational ingredients all fall into place as you fall, and you're not worried about who it's hurting, or you're singular in your focus, and in your singularity of focus is great power. This is where the power is, in the singularity of focus, in the intensity of your focus, in your ability to lock onto a view and not let go of it. That creates a vibration that gets stronger and stronger the longer that you lock onto that view. And so the person who's able to lock onto this view is the one who holds the power. Who's the one who's able to lock onto this view? The one who's not thinking about what everybody else thinks. The one who is single-mindedly looking at what they want, period. Now, when this comes from a person who is out of alignment, then the things that they think of are similarly out of alignment. They might be, so you put this person who is thinking only about what they want, and they gather power to themselves. Now they've got lots of money. Now they get to decide what buildings we build, what institutions we start constructing. Well, what do the first ones build? They build enormous palaces for themselves and their own children. Of course, that's what they do, because they're not thinking about anybody else. That's not how they built their focus and their attention. But all they did is they focused on what they wanted, period. And it's a lesson, because that's how the universe works. And the way that the mythological play of love versus hate, or, that light and dark, light versus darkness, why that always looks like it plays out the way it plays out, is because what comes first is someone of singular focus, who focuses on themselves and what they want, and they don't care about what anybody else wants. And that is not how a person who is in touch with their inner being would act, because their inner being is in touch with what everybody else thinks. So a person who is in touch with their own inner being would not be creating things out of alignment. They're also not as singularly focused, and they don't focus on it. I think that if humanity really wants to solve their problems, they need to come at it from the perspective of, who are we anyway? How does our equipment work? If we don't want to be fooled again, then we need to understand what in us is responding to what in him. And to simply recognize that this is destructive and we don't want it is not enough. It's not enough to just hate the haters. Hate the haters, that'll fix it all. It won't. This is not a new problem. It is just a new iteration of the problem, a new expression of the problem, a new... However, in humanity's collective vortex is everything we have ever asked for, all of the things we say we want. All of what we want in alignment with who we are. It's all right there. And all we have to do to start harvesting some of what's in our vortex, which is peace, prosperity, unlimited energy, abundant food, beauty, fun, joy, connection, relationship, meaningful work, positive, productive, creative, blah, 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 blah. All of that, the spirit, the frequency of all of that is right there in our vortex. And so how do you get your fortune out of the vortex and into the bank? Well, I don't know that money is actually what you do want. What you want is to travel. You want to travel. You want to have a comfortable home. You want to have dependable transportation and dependable food source. You want, think of what you want in reality as opposed to, I want money. And then as soon as I get money, well, then I will decide what I want. As soon as I have the money, then I can have whatever I want. Humanity is short circuiting through no fault of our own. Who are we? Who are we? What does it mean to be a human being? What does it mean to be a human being? We are here because the great creator has brought us here. You are here for a reason. You are needed. You are needed. The great project is calling you. Come into this world and go into your soul and find who you are and then be it. Be it for all of us because we need you. We need you. So I've been watching some music videos of sort of the theme is the North is rising against, you know, the threat of America is the problem because I'm an American. And so I should, depending on how I identify, I could take that as a threat, as an affront. Ooh, what do you mean? The Vikings are declaring war on America? What do you mean? But instead, I didn't identify with America. I identified with humanity. It's sort of like that. You remember that old song, American Woman? Get away from me, American woman. Mama, let me be. That was the Guess Who did that. And I'm an American, and I totally get what he's saying. And I totally understand that. I'm a boomer. Of course I understand that. I was part of the generation born into the generation that was told, this is America, love it or leave it. And we were like, but we love America. We love America. That's why we want it to be better, to do better. We're not trying to criticize it. We're trying to make it better. And actually, this is an important thing because I like to get excited about what could be. I get really excited about how wonderful this world is and could be better. All the amazing, you know, places that we could make this world a better place. Better, 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 more, 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 more. I see that. I find it that my energy is not actually very well received in a lot of places because it is perceived as I identify what could be better and how it could be more, where it is now perceives that as a criticism, not an excited, thrilling, ooh, look at how amazing this could be for all of us, even you. But if you're hanging your identity on some earlier position, me looking at the more down the way can be seen as quite threatening. I um I was raised by parents who grew up during the Depression. One was born in 1926, the other was born in 1928. So they were born in the prosperity, and then the Depression hit, and they grew up in the Depression, and then they really grew up in the war. My father shouldn't have been old enough to go, but he was fighting on Tarawa while he was still 17 years old. That does something to your psyche, let me tell you. And the sense of self-sufficiency and self-determination and empowerment that you feel when you take on that kind of load at that kind of age, I'll tell you, psychologically, that generation is different. And then they raised us, and we are different. We as boomers are different than the generations that came after us too, and different than the generations that came before us, because we totally distrusted the collective, whereas the generation before, when they were called to war, nobody questioned. It was like, my country wants me to go to war. I will go to war for my country. I'm going to fight for my country. I'm going to fight for my brothers who are already in the war. We are all in this together. I'm fighting this war. And then when they asked us to do it again in Vietnam, right after Korea, and it didn't seem like any of it was ever going to stop. What about this war to end all wars? What the hell is happening? And then they're shooting the government is gunning down our children at the colleges, Kent State, and it was like, only because we protested the war, because we didn't believe in the war. Anyway, who am I? Who am I? I am part of a generation who I think it is our duty to say what we can see. Whichever generation you are, whatever you can see, it is your duty to say so. Now, I know that the generations coming behind me, the newer ones, the younger ones now, and there are so many different generations, and it's weird because every one of them has a different worldview. They see the world differently. Now, collectively, the truth of the matter is, the truth of reality is, it's not somewhere in between. It's when you add up what every one of the because none of us are wrong, but we're all seeing different things. And the whole view is achieved when you add us all together. That's the way God works. That's the way humanity works. And this little aberration that we keep running across, this authoritarian psychosis, this collective narcissism, this Wetiko disease. Wetiko is what Paul Levy calls it. It is after a Native American term that was used to describe a person whose head and the heart weren't connected to one another. But it has to do with when your head and your heart are not connected to one another, that means that you are not in touch with your inner being. For whatever reason, you are not in touch with your inner being. I mean, even someone like Hitler or Trump or someone with with this malignant narcissism, they are in touch with their inner being from time to time, but almost never when they think. But Oh man, I can see it, but I'm already so deep into it. Do I really want to open up a whole nother vein of conversation as I describe to you why it is the narcissist that's the one that resonates with our grievance body, the one that wants to blame others and wants revenge and is full of guilt and shame and all of those aspects of President Trump's personality. Every time he goes into any one of those things, he's by definition out of alignment. And that's what his problem is. He is out of alignment. And he's out of alignment because he can't see himself. He has no idea what anybody else is feeling or thinking. He is just stone cold out on his own, flying blind. Now, certain aspects of his behavior have gotten certain energetic, positive responses from the field because when he acts a certain way, it resonates with certain people out there and they cheer, they applaud, and he feeling as small as he does, when he gets that kind of a reaction, he thinks, oh, this is success. This is good. This must be right. And so I will keep doing this. We have trained him to be what he is doing right now. The seeds were always there, but the full-throated, full throttle authoritarian flagrante, we have trained him to do that. We have trained him by responding positively to his grievance whining, his grievance churning, his blaming, his casting of blame and scapegoating. You know what? You want to know why you are unhappy and why you can't get where you want to go? That's to blame, and that's to blame, and that's to blame, and the audience cheers, and he can't see from the inside. So he can only hear that and go, okay, yeah, I'll follow that. There is a reason why this pattern keeps playing out. And I'm going to tell you, humanity, if we want it to come to an end, we need to understand it. It is in our hands. It's not in anybody else's hands. The antidote to this is I understand it. And it becomes my antidote. And then I understand how to fly my ship forward and into the light, because that's where our expansion is, and that's where my inner being is, and that's where the possibilities are, and that's where the light is. That's where the love is. That's where the expansion is. That's where we're going, because that's who we are. We are the field. We are the expanding field. Identify that way, and you will find that you can operate that way. And now, all of a sudden, you may have more control over more of the field around you. But through the cooperative byplay of all of us mutually working on our desires. Our desire. Remember, our desire is our inner being. Our belief is our analytical self. You have to get what you think you want into alignment with what you really want. And there is a really want about you that you may or may not be quite in touch with. But this really want thing has to do with what you need, and it has to do with what the field around you is, and what it needs and wants and is. It's all of that. And your inner being knows all of that because she's vibrationally in touch with all of the actual information of the actual atomic structure of everything around you, including the biology around you and how it's moving. She knows everything. She knows everything. God knows everything because it's a vibration. It's a vibration of holographic information being transferred up and down the scales of this massively exciting and interesting universe. And if we would turn in that direction, looking at all the possibilities as a big smorgasbord of possibility. Ooh, look at all of the ingredients. What could we do with this? What kind of fun could we create? What kind of systems could we create that would like benefit everybody? You know, we need to have systems where everybody gets to go on at least a 2-week wonderful adventure exploring our beautiful and connected world. Everybody needs to do that. Everybody needs to do a bit of the shit work that it takes for humanity to get through. And everybody needs to have dinner on the top of that magnificent restaurant overlooking all the world once a year. Or, you know, everybody needs to, because all of it is all of us. And we are all in this together. We are all in this together. I don't care what the conditions are. Unconditionally, we are all in this together. Actually, we are unconditionally all in this together to make a conditional experience for and with ourselves and each other that lasts. The object of the exercise, people, is sustainability. To find a way to be on this planet that we can sustain, that doesn't destroy the ecosystem around us, that isn't misery making, that isn't an apocalyptic nightmare scenario of dystopian. That the universe is so cool. We can have whatever we want. We just have to learn how to focus on what we want. How to focus on what you want even when it doesn't exist yet. Instead of focusing on what you don't want, even when that doesn't exist yet either. You know, but you're spinning the scenarios into the future. Oh, well, if this keeps going, then by the time I'm 50, then and my children will hate me and we'll have no money. Quit focusing that way, for crying out loud. Because this universe can be anything. It can be anything. And it's the most amazing. It's both the cruelest and the kindest thing you could utterly imagine. And the direction that you are going has to do with how you are harnessing your imagination, how you are using the ingredients of the field in front of you to create things in your imagination, what spirit you are casting them into, how you are focusing, and then how you are locking that focus in and what you are walking towards. You can do it with anything. And you're likely, if you spend all of your time in anxiety and worry, then what you are doing is you are locking into your view, your imagination, you are locking all these nightmares that you don't want to experience into the center of your focus, and then you're walking straight towards these things you do not want. Don't do that. Don't do that. Keep your hand in the hand of your inner being. Remember, you are two selves. That vibrational aspect of you, it's not just your sense of the world. It's not just another one of your senses that will die when your body dies. It actually is you. And when you die, that's what stays. This inner being aspect that's witnessing, it's your witness, it's your love, it's your support, it's your connection, it's your raison d'etre, it's your source-based anchor into existence itself. It is who you are. And when you keep the two of you in connected concert with one another, the main and distinct symptom that you get from how can I tell whether I'm in an alignment or not? It is so easy to tell. There is no mistaking. You feel okay. I'm okay. So whenever you feel okay, even if it's just for a second, you were in alignment for that second. Somebody gave you a cup of hot chocolate with nice, melty marshmallows in it, and you went, that felt so good right then. For that second, there's alignment. There's alignment. I felt okay. I felt okay. But now, as soon as you put your mind back on your problems, you're right back in it again. Well, that's because you're looking at problems. Your life isn't problems. When you frame it like problems, all you're going to see is problems. You have to watch the frame you start with, people. It's possibilities. Frame it like possibilities. And the ingredients of life are all of the ingredients that you get to use to create your possibilities. Oh, yeah, but I'm in a world of flesh. Yeah, but you're actually safe. You're safe. I know it doesn't feel safe because we can feel pain. But if you could recognize that there is an aspect of yourself that you can identify with that is separate from your physical self, find it in you. And when you identify with that non-physical aspect of you, the formless aspect of you, identify with it. What does that mean, identify with it? Well, put it after the words I am, for one thing. But quite literally, it seems to be, I think of it like, it's like that sucker of attachment that the barnacle, puts on the, it's your anchor. It's metaphysical, but it's a literal thing. This thing that connects you to your identification with the formless is what connects you to the form in the appropriate way, in alignment. In alignment, we need to quit talking about sin and crime, and we need to only talk about alignment. And so whether a person is, all people are good. All people are good. Did I say that loud enough? I know I say that really loudly because a lot of people don't believe it, and there's part of me that doesn't quite believe it because I know that there's really, really bad people that do really, really, really horrible, terrible things. I studied the Holocaust for a long time. It wasn't just I dipped into it for a bit of studies. I was very fascinated. I was morbidly fascinated, and I went out of my way to read novels mostly. It was novels that I would start with. And, it would just chill me and thrill me. And I was so fascinated. I couldn't understand, what this was. And I wanted to understand it. And then I read. I read a number of nonfiction books too, and I'm interested in the topic. And then there's some really interesting shows over there on Netflix. So You Want to Be a Tyrant and How to Be a Cult Leader. And those two are really interesting as they talk about the playbook. But I'm trying to understand it from a pattern recognition perspective from within my own self so that I understand where this really comes from. So that from where I'm standing, I don't ever have to be fooled by this one again. And I believe that the antidote is understanding who we are. and how our emotional configuration creates this energy pattern that is a very, very strong energy pattern at first, caused by the fact that the malignant narcissist can't see through anybody else's eyes. He's not lying to us as much as we think he is. That's what's scary in a way. He can't see it. That's what has caused him to be who he is literally he can't see it. He is blind. He is blind, 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 blind. And we, in our ignorance, have elected the blind man to lead the way. And this obviously always is going to cause a great big ass problem. And it will continue to keep causing this big ass problem until some point in our history, in our future, in our present, right now, please God, someday we have got to understand just what exactly this is. And I think there's a bonus in this when we completely understand and can imagine our physical universe and how it works, line it up correctly within our own being, line our consciousness up with how it actually works. With this holographic nature and the black hole structure and the spinning space-time and the fullness of space and the source energy is everywhere and the gravity and love actually have a physical analogy. Isn't this so interesting? When you realize that that's what the universe is and that's what creates consciousness and that's what this whole thing is, then you play it different. You quit thinking in terms of let's spend all of our treasure on getting rid of the bad people so that all of the good people can just get on with, this meat grinder of an existence or whatever. What are we imagining? What story do we think we are telling about who we are? Well, what I think is that every single one of us is good. And yet, there is so obviously bad people. How do you explain bad people? Well, bad people can be explained through misalignment and ignorance and massive ignorant misalignment. What's the cure of that? Education, 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 and alignment, alignment, alignment. Let's get the rest of humanity back into alignment with Source, and let's have a true understanding of what alignment with Source looks like. It doesn't look like any particular religion. It looks like peace. It looks like love. It looks like order. It looks like caring. It looks like beauty. It looks like abundance. It looks like life. It looks like clean air, clean water, happy people, joyful, sustainable existence. That's what it looks like. And we can get there. But at some point, I think we're going to have to start intentionally aligning. If you happen to find yourself in alignment and you're peaceful and loving and cooperative and harmonious with the field around you and all of your fellow human beings and fellow non-human beings, if you are just that kind of a person, God bless you. You don't actually have to understand how the universe works. This is something that you don't have to understand. And yet, when you actively are being fed beliefs about yourself that are incorrect, it causes this misalignment. So maybe we do have to learn. We have to learn that the frequency that we're aiming for is peace and love. We are all in this together, and this divine matrix is one living sheet of plasma moving forward through a sea of light. Who am I? Anyway, I'm probably close to 2 hours now, not past 2 hours. Where am I? 2 hours. Holy Lord, I've been at this for so long. Okay, I'm going to end. And until tomorrow or whenever I come back, may the source ever and as always, as if it could be any different, let your source be with you.